Didn't I promise you a story full of lies, betrayals, spies, intrigues and imposters? Well, I did, so here it is. The story begins in 17th century, to be precise 1601-1603, which was the time when Russia was plagued by famine. The famine happened. It came and went and left the country restless and perturbed, I say, because at the time the ruler of Moscow Kingdom, Tsardom, whatever you say, was hardly legitimate one. He was actually the last legitimate Tsar's brother-in-law. And so those who were already disappointed with him, those who already suspected foul play, those who wanted to have some bit of power for themselves, they all decided, yes, that is the real time to step up your game and try to win in this Game of Thrones. And so, after famine, approximately 1604-1605 is the first time they appear. The future well-known false Dmitri I and his wife, the daughter of Polish voivoda Marina Mniszek. Kaluga at that time was a place, as the historians called it, of restless spirit, basically of unrest and revolutionary ideas. So they greeted the false Dmitri I and his wife as the legitimate successors to the throne. You may ask me, why false Dmitri I? First of all, there used to be one Dmitri, an heir, one of the heirs, not an heir, to the Russian throne, a son of Ivan the Terrible, as you may know him, basically Ivan the Fourth. He died when he was but a little boy, and his death was a little bit suspicious one. Tsarevich Dmitri, or the real Dmitri, who died when he was a child, he was thought to suffer from epilepsy, and he died when he fell onto his knife. Of course, most people were suspicious, and of course they thought that maybe some parties conspired to kill him, or maybe he ran away with some of his supporters, and now he was coming back to Kaluga with a wife and a possible child in her belly. That was too much to take in for them, so they just decided to accept him. Right. It didn't end well for anyone involved. The country was in unrest. The first false Dmitri died. There were lots of them after, but the next prominent figure was, surprisingly, next Dmitri. It was a funny story. He married the widow of the first Dmitri. He had a child with the widow of the first Dmitri, and just like the first false Dmitri, the second one suffered a terrible death. The second pretender to the throne was a nasty man, let's be honest, and he basically decided to kill one of his supporters because said Khan told his son, "Don't go with this buddy, he is a nasty one." And this false Dmitri was like, "What?" and murdered him in cold blood, drowned him, told the rest that he ran away, which was unforgivable for proud Tartar people. However, as in every story, there is one suspicious person, Peter Urusov, who said, "I don't believe you. I don't think my friend could do that." And for that, they threw him into prison and beat him badly. So Peter Urusov, he decided to buy his time, and when one day false Dmitri II went hunting with his closest supporters, this hot-blooded Tartar man, he just, he came with a pistol and just shoot him in his head, saying, "That What will teach you not to mess with us, Tartar people? Sounds like a Western, but that was life in Russia in 17th century. Nice. And after this death, things were like crazy, absolutely. Marina Mnishek, imprisoned. Her 3-year-old son, hanged up. The whole country was suffering from murders, killings, and was, like drowned in blood. Because you know what? The invaders came after that, and they all tried to get just a piece of our country. But no, we had 2 waves of resistance, and fortunately for us, unfortunately for the rest, it was a successful one. We have the so-called monument to Minin and Pozharsky in the very heart of our country, in the very center of Moscow, dedicated to those 2 brave people who united the whole country in uprising against invaders. In 1613, the new dynasty began, the Romanov dynasty, which lasted for more than 300 years till Red Revolution came and destroyed it. There are, however, just more fun facts about Kaluga, like this for example. Right to the left you can see the oldest viaduct in Russia. It was built in 1785 and is known in Kaluga as the Stone Bridge. Nowadays, its importance is pretty non-existent except for the historical one, because as you may see, there is no river flowing underneath it, just grass growing and trees and plants and all that stuff. But 300 years ago, it was a pretty important one. It was important because the whole river was a connection, a channel between Kaluga and Tula. Via this way, supplies were transitioned and goods and all the nice stuff. Well, not so nice if we're talking about guns and bullets. The historical importance of this place actually is pretty big for us Russian people, because during the First Patriotic War, as we call it, or what you may know in Europe as the war against Napoleon, Kaluga was basically a supply base. And when Napoleon met resistance in Russia, met the burnt Moscow and decided just to give up on those crazy people, he wanted to go via Kaluga, because Kaluga was fresh and ready for visitors. But our General Kutuzov told him, "Okay buddy, listen up, not going this way. Go back to France, like, the way you came." Poor Corsican guy ruling France was forced to fly back to Paris using already marauded, burnt down and destroyed Smolensk road. Sorry buddy, but we Russians never give up what we have. While I was telling you about Napoleon and the whole storage thing that was here in Kaluga in 1812, I want to add that before the railway connection existed and before the emergence made Kaluga a pretty provincial city with basically no outer connections, it was actually a very important center of commerce here in central Russia. Lots of commercial ways were crossed here thanks to the river, and many goods were sold. But today they sell mostly souvenirs to the newcomers, tourists, and organize lots of concerts and fairs, basically the fun stuff. Another remarkable feature of Kaluga, as any other Russian city, is churches. There are lots and lots of them here. as pretty every city in Russia. Kaluga is multicultural, multi-confessional. Nowadays there are about 20 working churches in Kaluga, and all in all there are approximately 47 of them. There are some Jewish organizations, a synagogue, a mosque, and lots of stuff. So yeah. So that's basically what Kaluga is like, with its churches, museums, and fun facts about Cosmos. So if you ever decide to go here, please go enjoy yourself. And what about me? Well, I'm gonna see you next time somewhere else in Russia. Bye bye.